All right, hello class. I'm just gonna do a short video here on setting up your document for your typography history poster. So I'm in Adobe Illustrator here. I'm just gonna hit create new, go file, new. Then the new document dialog box pops up. And we're gonna be set up for print, so we wanna make sure that we have CMYK and our PPI is 300. If I click on more settings, see color mode, raster effects here. And if I just use the print preset, that'll give me that right off the bat. And you want to make sure that we're in inches, so you don't have a 18 by 24 point document. That would be really small. Go to inches, and then I'm going to change the width to 18. Go down to height, change that to 24. And we're also going to use a 1/8 inch bleed. And then I just hit create. I've only got one artboard. And here is my poster. So the next thing I want to do is set up guides. So I want to have a 1/2 inch margin on around all sides, so anything that's not going all the way to the edge doesn't sit in this little margin area. So first things first, I need to see the rulers. So I go up to View, Rulers, Show Rulers, or you can hit Control R, Apple R, Command R. And you want to make sure the rulers are in inches. If I right-click this here, I could see if it was in points. I'm going to change that to inches. Also, this would default, the 0 point should be right here, 0, 0. But if I double click in the corner here, that would reset. So I could also click and drag and say I want it to be in the middle of the page. You can see how my 0 mark is now in the middle. But I don't want that, so I'm going to double click over here. And then I got my rulers. We want this to be exactly at the 1/2 inch marker all the way around. So I'm going to hit Z to zoom, and then I got my zoom here, and then I could zoom in some, and then that would be the zoom tool right here too. And anytime you're scrolling over tools, you can see the keyboard shortcut. And that's not Shift J or that one is, but it's just hitting the key. No shift necessary. So if I want to add guides to a document, I just go to the ruler, and then I can click and drag, and then I can bring it over to 1/2 of an inch. Now I could spend a long time here. I could zoom in and really make sure that that's right on the 1/2, or I could have my selection tool, and I could click and drag, and then select this guide, so I have the guide selected, and I could see the positioning up here, and I could just change it to exactly point. You see I was pretty close, not quite though. Change that to 0.5, and then hit tab. It's exactly where I want to be. And I know this is 18 by 24, so I could go over to the other side here. And here's my navigation panel, which I use sometimes when I'm doing guides, definitely. So then I would, to get to that panel, any panel whatsoever, you go Window, and then here's all your panels. If you don't see something, just go to Window to find it. So I'm going to just drag another guide, and it's already selected. And I want to change this to, this is 18 across, and I want it the 1/2 inch mark, so I'm going to change it to 17.5. And then I tab, and it looked like the guide disappeared, but if I click over to the other side, it's right exactly where I need it to be. Then I can do the same thing for these guys here. See if I can get it. Oh, so close. 0.5. You see I'm changing the y-axis now, not the axis. And it's 24 inches, our document, so I want it to be at 23.5. Tab, and then I want to make sure those guides are in the right place. Now just Control 0, Command 0, not working. There we go. Command 0 brings me back to builds whatever my artboard is to the entire screen here. So now I've got my guides in place. Now the problem is if I'm selecting something over here, I could accidentally select these guides and then move them around, and I don't want that. Control Z, undo that. So I want to lock these guides in place. So I'm going to go up to View, and where guides are, and I'm going to lock those guides. So now I can't select them or move them. And we're going to make a vertical grid. So I could go here to Edit Preferences, and the preferences on a Mac are over here under the Illustrator logo. Preferences, and I could actually put a grid on here, but we want to have a gutter. Sorry about that. We want to have a gutter, so I'm not going to use this grid. So if I use this grid here, grid lines, I could set all this stuff, how many divisions there are, then I hit OK, and it's not showing because I don't have it turned on. Show grid, and there's my grid. But we don't want to use that particular grid. So I'm going to hide that grid. What we're going to do is I'm going to create a rectangle and then break that rectangle up into pieces and then turn those pieces into guides. So I grab my rectangle tool, and there's a couple ways to use this tool or any shape tool here. If I click, just one little click, I could set the exact size here, or I could click and drag, and I could see that my smart guides say intersect, so that means I know that I'm clicking right where I want to click. And then I also see intersect down there, so now I have my rectangle. And then if you're wondering, how do you get those smart guides? I'm viewing them, right? So view, guides, and then, oops, smart guides here, yeah. Control U, it's checked, it's turned on. And then also what is helpful is guides, unlocking guides, all that guide menu there. So now with my rectangle selected, I'm going to go into Object, Path, and I'm going to split into grid. Again, that's Object, Path, split into grid. And the dialog pops up. And I want to have 12 columns. We're going to have a 12-column grid. And we want to have a gutter. And we want our gutter to be 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to put 0.125. And it's going to round up to 0.13, which is fine. And then hit OK. Then I've got these, so they're not guides yet. I just took that rectangle and I turned it into a bunch of little rectangles. So I'm going to right click, and because I have it selected now, and I want to make those into guides. Now I've got my grid. If you needed a vertical grid, before I did that, if I hit Control Z, I could copy and paste this and then rotate it instead of going through those steps again. And then copy it again and do the same thing here. We're not doing that, we're just doing a vertical. Again, right click, Command click on the Mac, and make those into guides. So now I have my grid that I'm going to use for this poster. Over here on my layers panel, now if I have multiple layers and I'm working with different things, now my guides are actually on layer 1 right now. So when I'm doing a project, as I build my guides, one of the first things I do is I'll go in here and just change this layer name to guides, and then lock it, and then create a new layer. So now I won't accidentally, because for some reason I might need to turn these on or off. See, if I turn that off and there's other stuff on it, it also turns off my guides. Now they're kind of locked in place, ready to go. So that is setting up your document.